Hey guys, Triple B here, and we're back with a weekly news roundup. Apologies because I haven't done one of these videos in a while, but if you're interested in this type of content and want me to continue doing it, let me know in the comments down below and can easily bring it back as a recurring segment. Some big news this week as we're getting the reveal of Temporal Forces. We've gotten some news around what's going to be happening with rotation as well as specific dates for it, and a card collectors have been chasing that's been going up in price quite a bit is going to become accessible again. It was thought to be a once-off thing, but it's going to be coming back out around. So the big one though, Temporal Forces being our March set, it's going to be focusing on the two trios, the Johto Beasts as well as the Swords of Justice, so the Paradox versions of both those though. So Suicune, Entei, Raikou, Virizion, Cobalion, and Terrakion all coming into the trading card game as Paradoxes, which is pretty sweet. The ETB is going to focus on Walking Wake being the Suicune Paradox, and Iron Leaves being the Virizion. Also getting some cool promos in here, the Iron Thorns, which is effectively just Paradox Tyranitar, and Fluttermane being Paradox Mismagius. Yeah. Yes. Pretty cool sets though. Getting a peek at the booster packs. If you want a better look at these images, you can hop on PokeBeach and see them for yourself right up close. And the pre-release box for it as well, having, well, all those guys on there. It's pretty cool. The big thing of this set, it's going to be reintroducing Ace Spec cards. We're getting a tool card, adding 100 health to the Pokemon this is attached to. It doesn't increase the amount of prizes they give up, like Luxurious Cape, and it's not limited to basics like Bravery Charm is. Master Ball is effectively just Ultra Ball. Search your deck for any Pokemon, put it in your hand, except you don't have to discard 2 cards to use it. We're getting a Special Energy, Neo Upper Energy. It's going to count as 2 Rainbow Energy when it's attached specifically to a Stage 2 Pokemon. So tricky to set up Stage 2s like Meowscarada or Alakazam EX can use this as a one-off attachment to get going, and it doesn't have the trade-off of reducing their damage output like Double Turbo Energy does. The big one we've seen so far though is Prime Catcher, which is effectively Guzma. You switch out your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active and you're active with your bench. So it's Gust, but it's an item card. So you can still use like disruptive draw power on the turn, like Iono or Judge or something like that. So yeah, that's kind of silly. And that's the big one. I think most people will be running that. The other cards though are definitely interesting and something to keep an eye out on. We have seen a number of cards revealed this week from the set already. And the biggest news being 50 cards actually revealed today. So of these, we're getting to see Beldum. Basically just a basic. It's going to evolve up into Matang. Matang has an ability though, Metal Maker. Once during your turn, you can look at the top 4 cards of your deck, choose any number of basic metal energy you find there, and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. So it's a way to cheat energy out of the deck and set up an attacker. Maybe it sees play with like Dialga V-Star. Only looking at the top 4 though, the chances of hitting enough energy to get that going are pretty low. So it's likely just going to power up itself, and potentially we get like a Metagross EX in the future. We are just getting a single prize Metagross this set though with Meteor Mash. 60 damage. During your next turn, its Comet Punch attack does 60 more damage. Seems like a mistranslation there. I'm guessing it means Meteor Mash is going to do 60, so you just repeatedly use this and go into it. Its second attack, Luster Blast, does 200 damage. Discard 2 energy from this Pokemon, so it's not too bad. You're using the Matangs to get it online. The other thing I did forget to mention about the Matang, it's got 100 HP, so as you're evolving into it, you're not too concerned about Greninja taking it out off the bench since you're 10 damage out of range of it. We are getting a new Pikachu. It's got the random Spark attack. It does 10 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, so you can do a little bit of bench sniping, which is going to combo nicely with the Raichu, having Winding Bolt. It does 50 damage to each Pokemon with damage counters on it. So you'll be hitting your own bench. The funny thing about that is even if you have Manaphy in play, you can't protect your own bench because Manaphy says from your opponent's attacks affecting your bench. So if you have Raichu and your own guys are damaged, you're going to be hurting yourself. There is decks where that could be helpful, as there's Pokemon that have effectively rage attacks, where for each damage counter on them, they'll do X amount of damage back into your opponent. So it could be setting up decks like that. But I think the main kind of idea with this is using it as a spread deck. So just put pings out around on your opponent. Maybe you use like Halucha to ping 2 different things, 10 each, get a Raichu set up, do 50 to them. If they're running Manaphy, you can get the Manaphy into the active. As long as it has a damage counter on it, you're doing 50 to it, doubling it with weakness up to 100 to take it out. So like use Canceling Clone, shut off the Manaphy, knock it out, and hit their bench all in one go. Could be an interesting deck to play around with, and I'm sure someone will try and find a way to make it work. We did get Wiglet revealed in this as well. It has Item Dig for 1 water energy. Search your deck for an item card, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. It's not too bad for like first turn, just get something. You'd likely get Iono'd out of it, but if you don't, it's pretty cool. Aqua Ball, 40 damage, 20 damage to itself. you're likely not using much with this. I could see Item Dig, though, maybe in a control deck someone tries to make that work, so we'll see what comes out. But it does evolve into Wugtrio EX. It's a Terra-type lightning Pokemon, so you'll be hitting weakness into things like Lugia V-Star, Palkia V-Star. They're not seeing quite as much play anymore, but they're still around. Has the attack Troika Pump. Discard up to 3 energy cards from your hand and choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's going to do 60 damage to that Pokemon for each energy you discard, so you can be doing Bench Snipe or hitting the active, scaling up to 180. It's not too bad, especially since it's just 1 water energy to use it. Tingly Bolt's going to do 120 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat, so you could lock something in the active and then snipe stuff with Troika Pump, maybe just like hit and run, like gust something into the active that's kind of heavy to retreat, know that your opponent doesn't have a lot of switch left, lock them there, and then Troika Pump something off the bench you're trying to deal with. There's likely a deck concept there. We are getting a new Gengar line, so Ghastly with Mysterious Beam. Flip a coin. If heads, discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. It's kind of like Crushing Hammer, but it doesn't attack. It's going to evolve up into Haunter with Super Poison Breath, 30 damage, and your opponent's active is now poison, so effectively 40. If there's a Sneasler in play, though, gets that up to 60. It's a little bit cheeky, get some damage out there. 2 Dark Energy to use the attack, though, but we do have Dark Patch, so you could get it charged up if you did want to use that attack while you're evolving up into Gengar EX. Its ability, Corroding Curse, is going to make it so anytime your opponent attaches an energy from their hand to one of their Pokemon, you're going to put 2 damage counters onto them. Nice way to do some chip damage, and then also helps fix some numbers for Trick Step, which does 160 damage, so not massive numbers. You're going to be 2-shotting into most things. You get to move 1 energy from your opponent's active Pokemon to one of their bench Pokemon, though. So if there's something with like 330, 340 HP, you use this twice, you're only doing 320 damage all up, so you're 20 short. But if you're bouncing an energy from their active to the bench, they then have to attach another energy to the active. They take 20. Then when you use Trick Step, all up, it's going to be 340 damage. So you are going to get those knockouts, which is pretty cool. And I'm happy that Gengar's gotten a new card. We've seen it previously have an ability like this, where when they attach energy, they take damage. So I like to kind of see that they're sticking to that theme a bit, and definitely going to be playing around with this one. We're getting a new Cidon. It's got Rigidity. During your opponent's next turn, takes 30 less damage from attacks, effectively giving it 90 HP. It's okay. It's going to evolve to Nuzleaf that has attacks you're probably never going to use. Continuous Slap, flip 3 coins, 30 damage for each heads, 2 colorless energy to use it. It's like DTE, flip 3 coins, maybe hit 90, take 20 off, do 70. You're going to be using Rare Candy into Shiftry if you're trying this Pokemon at all. Its Expelling Tornado attack lets you choose 3 of your opponent's bench Pokemon, shuffle all of the other Pokemon and cards attached to them back into their deck. It's interesting. Like, I could see this potentially seeing play, because there's a lot of decks that are filling up their bench, like Charizard EX. They fill up their bench. It's got like Pidgeot, 2 Charizards, 2 other things. You're just going to pick 3 things that aren't attackers, and then it's like, hey, shuffle those Charizards back into the deck. Into Lost Box as well. It's like, hey, I'm going to pick that Manaphy, Comfy, shuffle your other things back into the deck, try and find them. Like, it's a bit of disruptive potential in there. Maybe it works. The fact that you're leaving them with 3 bench Pokemon, though, I feel like it's not enough. Maybe if it was 2, like pick 2 things, shuffle everything else. So then it's like, hey, that Manaphy, that Jirachi, you can keep them. Those likely aren't together on the bench, but like that Manaphy and something else, shuffle 3 other things, cause some disruption. It does let them keep an attacker, so you'd have to like gust around that so that their attackers are on the bench and bounce. Like, there's potential, but the fact that you let them keep 3, I don't think it's strong enough. Totodile, it's got Big Bite, 10 damage during your opponent's next turn. The defending Pokemon can't retreat, so you can lock things in the active with this. This for control decks, I could see being pretty strong. Croconaw, Reverse Thrust, 30 damage. Switch this Pokemon with one of your bench. It's okay, a little bit of hit and run. And then it's going to evolve into Feraligatr, so 180 HP on this. He's a beefy boy. The ability on it makes it so that you can take 5 damage counters to do 120 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon during this turn. Its attack Great Wave does 160 damage. When you use it, you can't use it the next turn. But combining that with the ability, you're doing 280 all up, so you can be one-shotting Pokemon V-Star. You're not too far off on stage 2 EXs, so if you're setting up some damage into them with like Reverse Thrust earlier, maybe having a Vitality Band on here, or just manipulating numbers in some other ways, you could be taking out stage 2 EXs with it as well. So definitely keen to see if someone makes this one work, and we'll be playing around with that at release for sure, because I like Johto, guys. And yeah, Totodile's cool. We'll make a deck. We're getting a new Cottony. It's got triple spin, flip 3 coins, 10 damage for each heads. It evolves into Whimsicott, and when it does, your active grass Pokemon gets fully healed, but you discard all energy from that Pokemon. So there could be situations where this is good, like maybe you just put something in the active that doesn't have any energy on it, you let it tank a hit, fully heal it off. Like for control decks, potentially there's something there. Or if there are decks that are just like one attachment to get going, maybe like Meowscarada, if you're using double turbo energy to get it online, maybe you have a 1/1 line of this in there just to give yourself a bit more of like tanking potential. It's cool. It's definitely an interesting tech to play around with, and it's nice to have it in our toolbox. I don't see it immediately seeing play though. We're getting a Relicanth. It's got an ability Deep in Memories. Each of your evolved Pokemon can use any attacks of the previous evolution. So it's similar to, I think there's like a Radiant Celebi we used to have that gave you the same effect. I like that. There's definitely some like stage 2 Pokemon that have attacks earlier on that they could be using. For example, like Gardevoir EX, there's the Ralts that you can just kind of like deny them from using an attack. So that's cool. I think it's Memory Skip. Off the top of my head, I haven't played a Gardevoir deck in a while, but I feel like it's Memory Skip. I should probably check that that doesn't rotate though, so maybe ignore me if that one rotates, but I'm pretty sure that the Gardevoir one had a cool one. There is also a Torracat as another one that comes to mind for 2 fire energy, 40 damage. If you're at full health, you go down to 10 damage if you were to get knocked out by your opponent's Pokemon instead of getting knocked out, which segues nicely into this next bit as we are getting a new Litten. Fake Out, 10 damage, flip a coin. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed if you hit it, so that's pretty cool. A little bit of chip damage and potentially slow your opponent down. New Torracat. I think the one I just mentioned is probably the one to go with, but this does have 100 health, so it keeps you out of range of Greninja. And Incineroar EX being, kind of a nice segue for that. So its ability, Adversity Act. The attacks used by this Pokemon cost 1 colorless energy less for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Its attack, Blazing Bomb, has 4 colorless energy in the attack cost. So if they've got 4 things on their bench, you just need 1 fire energy to get this going. You do 240 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. Burn does 20 damage between turns, so effectively you're doing 260. If the burn sticks and comes back to you, 280. Since it's a fire-type Pokemon, we could be combining this with the Rapidash from Silver Tempest as well, that you discard a fire energy from your hand, do 30 more damage. Brings this up to 310, I think. Am I doing the math right? 240 plus 30 from the Rapidash brings you up to 270, plus the burn 290. If it comes back to you, 310. Yeah, pretty good numbers. You could attach like a Vitality Band on here as well to push that up a little bit further, but definitely keen to see if this has some competitive potential. If we get anything to scale up burn damage as well, I could definitely see this being a threat. Getting a new Girafarig, psi damage, 20 damage, and 10 more damage for each damage counter already on your opponent's active. It's not bad. Like if you're setting up numbers into them, having this as just a quick finish off could be good into potentially in Gardevoir decks. Like if you're not quite hitting the numbers, just having a quick basic that you can get out there and just go attach for turn, accelerate with Gardevoir, attack, finish something off. It's good. Gardevoir looks like it's going to be going for likely Screamtail, Mawile, and Drifloon though, which are all basics being its big attacker. So I'm not sure Girafarig will really find a space in there, but it could be all right. Or even into like spread decks, if you've half hit something down, just having this to take out a big target isn't a bad call. It's going to evolve into Farafarig. Faraf? Definitely butchering that name. The new draft Pokemon that it evolves to from Paldea. So its ability, Armor Tail, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks of your opponent's basic Pokemon EX. So things like Chin Pao, Roaring Moon, they won't be able to do direct damage to this. Roaring Moon obviously has the attack that's an effect that just declares you're knocked out, but we did get a new special energy, which we'll be covering in just a minute, that effectively just negates effects of attack. So if you have that on here, you're fine. The attack does cost a Psychic double colorless. It's a dark type Pokemon, a little bit awkward to charge it up. So yeah, that'll be a interesting one to see how we make this work. Like you could power it up with Zatus, you could use it in Gardevoir decks like previously mentioned, just get the energy on the Girafarig before you evolve up. Since it's a Psychic Pokemon, Gardevoir can use Psychic Embrace to it. You evolve up, you can't anymore. That could be a way to get it going. You could use Dark Patch onto it as well, since it does become a Dark type to cover the colorless cost in there. You just get the Dark energy on there. Could be interesting. It does 160 damage and 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So half hitting into things and setting up numbers for other things, or even setting up numbers for Girafarig to clean up. It's a cool concept. New Roaring Moon card, just a basic one though, not an EX. It has Vengeful Feathers, 70 damage, does 10 more damage for each ancient Pokemon in your discard pile. Interesting. 2 colorless energy. You can be quickly charging this up with Dark Patch. It's an ancient Pokemon, so you can be using Professor Sada to get it going as well. And not too bad. Basic Pokemon, 140 HP. That's pretty bulky. So like into single prize matchups could just be something that's easily slotted into Roaring Moon EX decks just to kind of help you out. Doesn't need to hit massive numbers, just needs to be able to deal with other single prize Pokemon. So even if you just have like 4 ancient guys in your discard, you're doing 110, you can take out Cramorants or just deal with like Frigibacks and Charmanders and stuff, having a single prizer in the active instead of a 2 prizer, so your opponent's not taking out 2 prizes when you're not taking out 2 prizes. It's an interesting card to have printed. Second attack, Speedwing, 120 damage for 4 energy. I don't think you're going to be declaring that one ever, but it is there if you need it. Getting a new Maridon, also a single prizer and ancient Pokemon, so you can charge it up with Professor Sada as well. Fighting and a colorless energy to get it going, so attach for turn, Sada, you're good. Does a multiplier of 30 damage for each of your ancient Pokemon in play. So fill your bench with ancient Pokemon. This in the active, you can get up to 180 damage all up. It's nice, 140 HP on this as well. There is that tool card to give your ancient Pokemon 60 more HP. So you could have a 200 health basic Pokemon, giving up 1 prize, doing 180 damage for an attachment and a supporter. That's not bad. I could definitely see this just being like a rogue single prize deck in the future and keen to try it. Second attack being Shred, 130 damage, just shreds through stuff. Effects don't affect that attack damage, so if they're trying to reduce damage output, you just go, no, I'm going to go right through that. But it's nice. I like this card a lot, actually. Getting a new Great Tusk card, also just being a straight up single prize Pokemon. Crust Collapse, discard the top card of your opponent's deck, but if you played an ancient supporter card from your hand during this turn, discard 3 more cards from the top of their deck. So you're likely using Professor Sada and attachment for turn to get this going, and then mill 4. That's alright, actually. Yeah, I'm kind of down for that. Even just as like a one-off card into already existing ancient Pokemon decks, you see your opponent's low on their deck, or you know they're trying to dig for like 1 crucial piece, you just go, well, I'm going to mill 4 cards. Like, I know you need a rare candy, or I know you need a boss for game, and there's like 5 cards left in your deck. I'm just going to mill them. And that could end it. Yeah, I like it. Interesting tech card. It could also just be a straight-up mill deck. Milling 4, I'm not sure it's quite strong enough. Like, it's better than that Durant that we had that was you needed 4 Durant in play to be able to do it. Now it's just you need to get this charged up with a ancient supporter, and you can mill 4. It's cool. Getting Iron Valiant. Calculation, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put them back in any order, and Majesty Sword, 100 damage. And if you played a future supporter card from your hand during this turn, 100 more damage. That's pretty powerful. So this one's a basic that can do up to 200 damage. 3 energy onto a future Pokemon is a little bit trickier to get going, though. It's not like you can Professor Sada to this, because it's a future Pokemon, so you'd have to get it charged up in other ways, using like Xatu or Gardevoir, potentially. Future supporter cards also, ones that come to mind are like Professor Turos. So maybe this in Gardevoir. I know Gardevoirs have been running one-off Turos, so you could have this just kind of as that like quick throw it down, do 200 damage, charge it up with Guardy. Maybe. Of all the recently revealed single prize Paradox Pokemon, though, I'm kind of thinking this is the weakest one we've seen so far. Happy to be proven wrong. Let me know in the comments down below if you're a believer in it. We are getting a new Maridon that's also a future Pokemon. Speed Peak, 40 damage. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy and attach them to your future Pokemon in any way you like. So it's a good way to get things set up. You could get that Iron Valiant set up with this. Maybe there's also like a single prize future box deck in the work here. So keen for that. You could be running this to set up things like Iron Hands or Iron Valiant EX as well. 40 damage, a little bit of chip. Iron Valiant can put pings around and then use its secondary, or not secondary attack, its attack does 200 damage. So like having this to get that online, I like it. Also having this to set up damage for Iron Hands to then come out and finish something off. Not a bad call. Sparking attack, 160 damage, 2 lightning and a psychic. It's not a bad option to have on here as well, because you could just, I guess, have quad deck of these charging each other up. There's that future tool card that makes it so you do 20 more damage. We did get a new, what's his name? Iron Crown? The Kabalion EX card that we're getting, making future Pokemon do 20 more damage. So you could have multiples of those in play with this, attach that tool, scale up your damage. You could be one-shotting into like stage or no, not stage 2s, I was going to say stage 2s, you'd be taking out basic EXs, right? Because like the tool on here gets you to 180, 2 Cobalion gets you to 220. You could take it like a Chin Pao with this. It's interesting. Iron Treads, the ability Dual Core. While this Pokemon has a future booster energy capsule attached, it's fighting and metal. Its attack only does 60 damage. You move an energy from this to one of your bench Pokemon, costing a metal and a colorless. So like you have to get it charged up somehow and then you're moving it off. You're doing 60 with future boost capsule. You're doing 80, hitting weakness even. You're getting up to 160. It's not bad. We do have that Iron Crown previously mentioned, so you could scale that up to cover 2 weaknesses with this. I don't mind it actually, but I don't know, it feels a little bit lacking. Like I almost think that this should be 80 damage just to help you get to some benchmark numbers a little faster. So 80 plus 20 from the tool gets you to 100, double it for weakness, 200. Steel type, you're missing the number on Chin Pao, but 1 Iron Crown in play, you're taking a knockout into Chin Pao. And then you're also taking knockouts into like Maridon EX with the weakness. So yeah, I feel like it needs to hit like a little bit more, but pretty cool. New trainer cards. So Order Box as an item card, you can use this, but it ends your turn. You get to search your deck for 2 item cards, reveal them, put them into your hand. It's all right. You're immediately going to get hit with Iono most likely, but it's all right. Could see playing like control decks, I guess. Like they're never declaring attacks. If they're not ending their turn with an ability of some sort, having this just to get into pieces. It's an interesting one. We're getting Hand Clippers as well, and another great card for control. Both players discard cards in their hand till they both have 5 cards. So if your opponent's trying to hang on to things or just gets into large hand sizes, for example, Lost Box, they often get into large hand sizes. You could just use this and thin that down a little bit. They get to pick say the good words now. They get to pick the cards that they do keep though, so it's not like you're getting to mill their hand completely down, but it's going to disrupt them a little bit if they're hanging on to stuff. Getting a new tool card, Emergency Board. The Pokemon this is attached to pays 1 colorless energy less to retreat. So onto like cheap basics like Comfy, it's got free retreat now. Pretty cool. But if something has 30 health or less, it has free retreat. So you could even be chucking this onto like large health things or large retreat things and giving them free retreat if they've kind of been thinned down right to the bottom. So I like that. It's an interesting card to have. And then we're also getting Bianca's Sincerity. Heal all damage from one of your Pokemon with 30 health or less remaining. Interesting one for sure. So if we do get into a format where it's like things are just shy of taking you out, we have this as an option. Could be an interesting one-off to grab with like Luminion to give a little bit more longevity to decks, but we'll see. Another card for control though, Eerie. Look at your opponent's hand, choose 2 item cards you find there, and then discard them. So you could use that buzzer card. What was it called? I already forgot the name. Hand Clippers. You could use Hand Clippers, get them down to 5 cards in hand. You think that they've held on to some item cards. Maybe they're hanging on to like rare candies or something. Show me your hand, get rid of those 2 items. This is actually very disruptive to decks that are focused on rare candy, because if you know that they're holding them and haven't evolved up yet, it's just like, gone. Drum of Awakening being a new Ace Spec card we're getting. You get to draw a card for each of your ancient Pokemon in play. And the other Ace Spec we're getting is Reboot Bot. For each of your future Pokemon in play, choose 1 basic energy from your discard pile and attach them to that Pokemon. Very interesting stuff. I like that we're seeing support for the paradoxes. I'm not sure that these are strong enough to see play over Prime Catcher though. But Drum of Awakening, like getting some draw power off an item card, it's pretty powerful. And Reboot Bot for those future decks, like just being able to charge up your guys and multiple guys, like that's big. Like mid game, if you have 4 or 5 energy in the deck or in the discard, playing this, charging up 5 things in one go, attach for turn to one of them, and then it's going. I like that a lot, actually. The Drum of Awakening, also for like Roaring Moon decks that are running Darkrai Restar, having this, like, you could proc it twice with the Darkrai and then free up your supporter for turn for other things, but I feel like in those situations, you want to just get Prime Catcher twice. We'll see. But yeah, that's it for the big reveals today. There is still some more cards though that did get revealed earlier in the week. So we got to see Hero's Cape. It's going to give your Pokemon 100 more health. They don't give up extra prizes, and it's not limited to just basic Pokemon like Bravery Charm was. We did get a Dunsparce, Sableye, and the Dunsparce. So the Dunsparce is all right. Gnaw, 10 damage, dig 30 damage, flip a coin. If it's heads, it's invincible into your opponent's next turn. And the Dunsparce, when you evolve up into it, draw 3 cards. If you do, shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it back into your deck. So you can effectively just run this and constantly get cards out. Shuffles itself back into the deck, so you're never milling yourself down completely, which is pretty cool. And yeah, like it could just be sitting in the active and tank a hit. Like into Lost Box, they have a cram, it's just doing 110. I guess it would be taking out the Dunsparce. When you evolve up into this, it's just bouncing back into the deck anyway, so never mind about that. It's just something cool that, yeah, you can put it on the bench and immediately get it off the bench. It's interesting. The Dunsparce that removes weakness for colorless Pokemon, though, is unfortunately rotating, or I'd say that, hey, decks that are already running that, just include this if you don't need it on your bench in a matchup. It gives you a way to get it off the bench and some draw power. But yeah, that's, I think it was Fusion Strike that was in, so unfortunately that will be gone. The Sableye has Damage Collector. Move any number of damage counters from your opponent's bench Pokemon onto their active. So if you're using a spread deck and want to take out the active attacking Pokemon, this is a way that you could be doing that. Also getting to see Mist Energy and a new Rabsca. Wow. Yeah, new Rapsa. I think we've had previous Rapsa cards. Rellor, 30 damage, 10 damage to itself. It's fine, colorless energy, so it's an alright attack to do some chip damage early, but the Rabsca is effectively Manaphy and Jirachi combined. So it's going to prevent all damage and effects done to your bench Pokemon by attacks of your opponent's Pokemon. So it's pretty cool. Like bench protection and protection from damage counters. I like it. It's on a stage 1 though, so while you're evolving up into it, it could be targeted off your bench is kind of the downside of this though. Its attack Psychic, 10 damage, 30 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. There would be situations where you'd be using this just to finish things off or set up knockouts too, so it's not completely wasted bench space, like potentially you could be using it. We'll see. I feel like just being able to go Nest Ball or Buddy Pfin for like a Manaphy or a Jirachi though is probably the way to go. When Manaphy rotates next year though, this may become our bench barrier, like, well, yeah, go-to. If it's the only option, it'll start seeing play. Mist Energy though, I did mention it earlier, prevent all effects of attacks of your opponent's Pokemon done to the Pokemon this is attached to. So it stops Roaring Moon, it starts Star Requiem. It's neat. Getting to see a new Runiculus also. So it's going to evolve from Solosis, surprise attack, 30 damage, flip a coin. If it's tails, doesn't do anything. Evolves into Duosion, 30 damage. As a multiplier, flip 2 coins, 30 damage for each head. So get up to 60 damage for just 1 colorless. That's not too bad. The Runiculus though is 1 colorless, Summoning Gate. Look at the top 8 cards of your deck. Put any number of Pokemon you find there onto your bench. You shuffle all the other cards back into your deck though. So you could be cheating out stage 2s with this, which is really neat. I'm just not too sure if it's justifiable enough being a stage 2 itself. And the fact that like you might hit them, you might not. Like there's not a great way to ensure top decks at the moment. It's not like we have a Rangaroo where it's just, hey, put this on the top of my deck. So it's interesting. It doesn't do any damage. Like we used to have a Chandelure that did a similar thing. It was only, look at, I think it was 5 cards. 1 fire energy, 60 damage for each card that you revealed that was a Pokemon, and if it was a fire Pokemon, you could put it onto your bench. So it was like a nice happy medium. You could cheat things onto your bench, you could do damage, and you could cheat. Well, yeah, you did this, but plus damage. So it was just better. I liked that deck a lot. The biggest card we've seen, though, I think so far is Buddy Pfin, which is going to be our Battle VIP Pass replacement. Search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon. The trade-off, though, 70 HP or less, and put them onto your bench. And the benefit, it's not limited to your first turn. So evolution decks are going to love this. Big basic decks aren't going to. Like EXs aren't going to be able to abuse this, which is nice. And the decks that need to set up and need to fill up their bench, they're in a good way. It's not like we're going to have matches where it's like, oh, did you hit VIP pass first turn? No. Did your opponent? Yep. Okay. Are you having a good time? No. Is your opponent? Yep. That's gone. Like Buddy Pfin, you can use it mid-game. You can use it early game. It's good. Gives you easy access to the Manaphy's and Jirachis, which is very, very helpful. We're also seeing the Paladin Fates cards being, well, confirmed. So Frigibax that has Collect is confirmed. Moonlit Hill, solid stadium card for Gardevoir has been confirmed. Once during each player's turn, they can discard a basic psychic energy from their hand to heal 30 damage from each of their Pokemon. That's pretty cool. And Technical Machine Crisis Punch is confirmed as well. So 3 colorless energy, 280 damage. You can only use this attack when your opponent has exactly 1 prize card remaining though. So if it's like right down to the wire, you could have this search it out with an Arven or search it out with a town store, have something charged up, big number. It's pretty clutch. One shots into V-stars, takes out things that are pretty beat up. Well, not pretty beat up. Like if a stage 2 EX has, what, 50 damage on it, then the 280 finishes them off. It's cool. I like it. Did also get confirmation about the rotation. So TPCI has announced that all EU cards will rotate. We knew that was coming because Japan had already announced it, and the whole point of the regulation markers is that like we're sticking to the letters, one letter each year. So we knew that was going to happen, and it's going to be happening on April 5th. So anything from like Battle Styles to Fusion Strike is going to be out. That means no more Path to the Peak, no more Escape Rope, Gardevoir's gone, Flaffy's gone, and yeah, Battle Pass and Mew VMAX are on the way out. I love how Pokebeach has kind of done this little thing. Goodbye to you, and good riddance to you. I fully agreed. Mew, cool card. Never personally played it. Respect it though. Like it's a good competitive level deck that basically anyone could pick up. Top tier players could take it to a next level, and people that are new to the game could still play it competently and do really well at events. So I like it. It was a good like entry level deck that, yeah, when it's played by the right people, it was absolutely terrifying. And the final thing that collectors will likely be interested in, the Van Gogh Pikachu promo card is going to be re-released in February. So prices of that should be coming down. You'll be able to access them. It's not like this holy grail thing anymore where it's like, did you get one? No. Are you going to pay a bunch of money on eBay to get one now? I guess so. You don't have to anymore. They're reprinting it. That's kind of the nice thing about cardboard. There's lots of it, and they can just print on it. Don't always buy into hype prices, guys. Promo cards, they can be reprinted. It's magical like that. Hope you enjoyed the weekly news roundup. Apologies, it did go on a little bit long. There's a lot of new cards revealed and playing a bit of catch up. If you did enjoy it, let me know in the comments down below if you want me to do this as a recurring segment. I have also just been covering these cards as they're revealed in short form content though. So if you like YouTube shorts, you can keep up with all that. But yeah, till next time, stay golden, you Goombas.